from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Friday night edition of the program. We are live, we are national. It is 7 minutes past the top of the hour, and a blessing to be on this microphone with you. 833-482-5337 is the phone number, 833-4-VALDEZ. And many of you saw the speech this morning, or this evening, I should say, by the widow of Charlie Kirk, Mrs. Erica Kirk, and it was an inspiring speech. And I believe that the question that's upon us, both before the speech and after, remains the same. The left is waging a civil war on America. How will Americans respond? I know for me, I'm vacillating. I'm stuck. I know that I'm pissed off, and I'm sad. I feel slighted, but I see opportunity. And I know many Americans feel the same way. I know that we've been in at this crossroads before. Anytime something bad happens, something difficult happens, many of us, first thing you want to do is fight, right? And we do have to fight. The question is, how do we fight? President Trump gets shot, misses his brains, and it takes a little bit of his ear. Drops to the ground, Secret Service tackles him, he gets up, he pushes them out of the way, puts his fist in the air with blood gushing out of his ear, and he says, fight, fight, fight. In that moment, that was the moment to fight. And I think President Trump fights every single day. And I like to use him as an example because we all see him. But let's look at how Charlie Kirk was fighting, right? I don't think anybody would describe Charlie Kirk as a wallflower. He went out there bravely debating, bringing him and his brain and his microphone to college campuses and taking on 1,000 critics at a time. Hundreds of people that disagreed with him, and he just took it. And he went there with them, and he did it because he was willing to have the conversation. I never saw him push anybody. I never seen him fight anybody. I've never seen him even really lose his cool. So how do we fight is the question. I know some of my colleagues are out there saying that, you know, those of us calling for peace and reconciliation are soft. And maybe that's true. But Americans have to decide what they're going to do. Americans have to decide how they will respond. Do we take the rage bait and lose our cool? Or do we take this opportunity to show them that we're truly different? And as Charlie Kirk's wife really extraordinarily and eloquently pointed out in her address a little while ago, turn our hearts towards Christ, to live in love. Yet in the same breath, she cautioned the left and said, you don't know what you've unleashed.
Charlie.
That wasn't a threat. That was more of a promise. That she's going to take the helm of this organization and lead this charge with what I believe to be is going to be so many Americans that are now more committed to their faith, more committed to the values of this country, more committed to seeing the right thing done, and more committed to engaging in more conversation like Charlie did, so that we can have these important conversations and expose the truth. Listen to Erica Kirk.
Charlie, I love you.
I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget. And my goodness, am I so humbled to witness Charlie, you alongside Jesus right now, doing what you always want to do, baby. Making heaven crowded, right? That's what it's all about. Making heaven crowded.
Making heaven crowded. Winning souls for the kingdom, right? This is what she's talking about. She's saying this is what Charlie dedicated himself every day. I have no doubt in my mind that's what he dedicated himself to every day, by way of doing it through political activism, campus activism, evangelism. He didn't skip a beat. Quite a remarkable guy. And I bring this up because the big headline today, obviously, you've heard by now, it's 9 o'clock at night in many parts of this country, 6 o'clock in some others, is that they caught the bad guy. Catching the bad guy is good. Charlie gets justice. We get justice. Amen. Praise God. Hallelujah. But it's the response of how we react, how we move forward, what tomorrow looks like, what Saturday looks like, what Sunday looks like, how we react on Monday to these vile people that are out there celebrating Charlie's death, maligning the guy, saying things that are just not true. Saying he was a racist. I mean, saying the same thing they say about every conservative they don't like. They're a racist, they're this, they're that, they're the other. How do we handle that? How do we address it? Well, we're going to get into both the nuts and bolts of it as well as the mental health side of it, because it's no question to me that the last time I saw America feeling this way probably was 9/11. And I'm not comparing the 9/11 attack to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about my own experience in my own circle. I've never seen so many of my own friends who are not incredibly politically active, who are not incredibly active in the church. They live their lives. Some of them go, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I've never seen so many of them so emotionally affected by something that they're not even really plugged into, right? I'm plugged into this stuff. I do this every day. But they have jobs in healthcare and in the trades and other things. And yet all of them have called me, telling me how, man, this is really weighing on me. And the reason it's weighing on them, it's the same reason it's weighing on so many Americans. Because the attack on Charlie Kirk, this assassination, was not just killing Charlie Kirk and trying to stop or slow down Turning Point USA. It was truly about a way of life. It's this way of life that if we don't like you, we will try to kill you. If we disagree with you, we will try to kill you. And we've seen the proof with Trump. We've seen it time and again. If they can't try to kill you, they'll try and put you in jail. This type of hatred is out of control. And we've seen it in large part coming from the left. But the problem isn't the left per se. The problem is hatred per se. Evil. How do we manage good versus evil? Well, last I checked, the Bible said, don't repay evil with evil. Repay evil with good. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
How do you feel about Charlie Kirk getting assassinated?
Some people say it's deserved.
To get murdered in front of his children and family?
When God calls you home, you gotta go.
You think God called him home? It's well deserved. For him specifically getting killed, womp womp, he got what he deserved. Honestly, I feel like he just got what he deserved. No shade.
Don't you think it's disgusting to be celebrating someone's death?
Well, coming from a perspective as a woman of color, and
that justifies it?
100%, I feel like. Because nobody gave a when it was MLK, Malcolm X. Like,
we don't like those kind of deaths either.
There's no group of white people that I see pushing so hard for those type of deaths.
That was a while ago. We equally condemn those deaths.
Do we? I mean,
you're talking to me right now. You think that most conservative white men want black people to die?
Well, the one who recently just died, Charlie, definitely thought so. You basically wanted black people to be slaves. Like, what are you talking about?
I feel like if you wish death on other people, for that to happen to you, it's kind of like, that's just karma.
Who does he wish death on?
He said awful things about trans people, doesn't care about their rights, or like he's a conservative.
So if you don't like trans people, you deserve to be shot in the neck?
100% the people who oppress us deserve to die. Like,
so if you don't like trans people, you deserve to be shot in the neck?
Yes. Like he made it very known verbally that he does not support any of us. And he spoke reckless, and I guess he got hit for that. So he put himself at risk saying all those nasty ass things and then going publicly in front of people. And plus he was the same person that said guns lives matter, right? So obviously what happened to him is just like, he would approve of it. Guns lives matter. Someone used the gun and it saved lives. We agree. I agree. I don't care if it's ignorance or coming out of hatred from my heart. It's opinionated.
Doesn't care if it's ignorance or hatred coming from her heart. It's opinionated. Now, I know I'm going to take some heat for playing that. I didn't really even want to play that. I don't like to give credence to that, but we're having a conversation about this stuff, and it's important that we hear what I'm talking about, because if I say, oh, it was a girl and she made very disparaging remarks, you may not, and I don't know if she's a girl or a boy, to be very frank with you. I think she's a trans girl, because she said we when referring to the trans, and I don't want to misgender her. However, all that aside, this, believe it or not, is a reaction. I don't think it's the main reaction, but it's a reaction to the horrific events that occurred 2 days ago. And I saw that, and I said, we collectively as Americans, at least me and you, the audience, we need to sit down with a shrink and really work this thing out, because I realize there's evil in this world. I realize that people that are hurt, like the old saying, hurt people will hurt people. I get that. And I feel like that's an example of what we're seeing. But I also see a genuine disconnect with compassion, morality, and just basic humanity that I've seen for a long time, but I see it getting worse instead of getting better, in my estimation. I hope I'm wrong. Dr. Vince Callahan is the founder of the Florida Institute for Neural Discovery. He's the author of many books, including Freedom to Change, Understanding and Reshaping the Stressed Brain. Dr. Vince Callahan, welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being on your show. And like you, that clip is very disheartening to hear people talk about a person's life like it means nothing. It's one thing, we used to could disagree with somebody's beliefs and still be in the same room together. But it's like our society has flipped overnight almost to where if I disagree with you, that gives me the right to hurt you. And that's a really slippery slope.
I agree with that. And listen, I want to be always very transparent. I make a career out of challenging ideas I don't like, occasionally intellectually, but many times flippantly and comedically, and I make fun of the characters that bring these things. I spent the last 3 or 4 years calling the president of the United States Joe El Baboso Biden. And I do it in jest, and I do it to ridicule their policy and their position on things. But I've never wished this man harm. I've never wished him ill. I do realize that it's easy for me to make fun of somebody that I don't know personally. And I try to keep that perspective when I hear these young people, because that girl couldn't have been more than 19 or 20 years old, saying, I guess so, guns lives matter, making all these very flippant comments about one's life, someone she doesn't know. And I guess perhaps some of us that knew Charlie Kirk feel a different way. But how did we get to this level of insensitivity, Doc?
Well, I'm going to go back a lot of years, and I'm going to say for me, it starts with the graphic nature of video games that kids were exposed to. And when you get exposed to something that is you're winning because you're killing, you're taking parts of your brain and desensitizing yourself to that. So we've grown up with a generation of being able to be on the internet, be on the games, and see things that are horrible, but we go, okay, that's just in the game, hit reset, no big deal, when it really does matter. And
now let me ask you, are you talking about like modern day whack-a-mole, duck hunt, or like Grand Theft Auto, where they're like, very graphic in the violence?
I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto. I'm talking about Mortal Kombat, when you rip somebody's head off in their spine. That plays a role. And we've gotten to where now these 18 to 22, 25-year-olds have grown up in a society these last 25 years where truth doesn't matter. Your truth is your truth, and it really doesn't stack up against anybody else's truth. And there is no such thing as real truth. And we've basically collectively let our conscience go. I mean, I'm old. I'm in my 60s, and I look at this and I go, how could you get to that place where a person's life, I mean, this wife and kids don't have a dad anymore just because somebody disagreed with his opinions.
Well, Dr. Vince Callahan, I see the same approach that they're having towards this assassination on Charlie Kirk is, in my opinion, it's the same approach they have with themselves. Many in the trans community, many of these people that are very angry on the left are very very dissatisfied, unhappy people. And as you well know, the data shows that the transgender people kill themselves at a remarkably high rate. So I'm thinking, if you hate yourself or aspects of your life so much that you're willing to end your own life, I can only expect that you're going to hate me.
Right.
And be willing to end mine.
Right. Well, in the trans community, and I'm not going to get into a moral argument about, or moral discussion necessarily about the trans community, but I will agree with you that they have one of the highest suicide rates of any people group right now in America. And the reason is because they've spent all of their life trying to reach what they call the peak of the mountain, so to speak, where my life is going to be great and I'm going to have all these things I've wanted and I can identify as myself and I can do all these things. And when they get there, there's such a letdown to what they thought they were going after that what's the reason to live? And so it fuels that, well, I don't have any value, therefore I'm going to kill myself. And you're right, if somebody can kill themselves, they can kill somebody else. It's not far of a stretch.
Terrible. Dr. Vince Callahan, stick with me. I want to continue this discussion. I think there's a lot to talk about this evening. Amigos, we're coming back with Dr. Vince Callahan. He is a therapist extraordinaire, in my opinion. He knows what's going on. He's from the Florida Institute for Neural Discovery. Check him out at drvincecallahan.com and check out his book, Freedom to Change. Don't go anywhere. It's Rich Valdes coming back with Dr. Vince Callahan.
Thanks for what you do. You have so many people. You ask the questions that if a viewer had a microphone, they would ask that question, and you seem to always ask it right at the right time. So God bless you, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. They should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him. He could always find the ones who could handle any setback. And it's almost like he knew. He could see it in you. Even when you couldn't see it in yourself, he just knew. He knew you could handle it.
Dr. Vince Callahan, how much can America handle? Of course, those are the words of the widowed wife of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, and a remarkable speech this evening that she gave, showing a tremendous amount of strength, really just resilient. God bless her. I wonder the same thing. How much can America handle? Can we handle more than we're given? Are we more resilient? Because I think so many Americans feel downtrodden right now, and they feel beat up. They want to lash out. They know they shouldn't. And a lot of people feel stuck, Dr. Vince.
Well, I think the first thing that I want to say, because I know that you've got a great audience and the masses are listening, I'm going to say, first of all, it's okay to grieve. America needs to grieve this loss. Whether you agree with him politically or not, it's a life that was taken by someone who had no concern for that life. And we need to let those feelings be there, and we need to grieve as a country, and we need to go, okay, this shouldn't be, and it's not okay. And my heart goes out to his family. I can't imagine what they're going through at this time, and probably feeling numb and can't believe that it's happened, and all of the things will come rushing in. But I think America needs to grieve. I think America's stronger than we want to give ourselves credit for. I think some of the stuff that we see on the news, it's almost like it portrays 99% of America when it really portrays 1 or 2% of America. Mm-hmm. And I think we're a better country. I think we're stronger. I think we have stronger values. I think we're more connected to each other. And I think that we need to harness that, because we are a good country and we are good people.
Dr. Vince Callahan from the Florida Institute for Neural Discovery. I find that, I mentioned this before you came on, several of my friends, my contemporaries, guys, in their mid to late 40s, they don't do what I do. One's an electrician, one is a hospital administrator. These guys that I hang with all the time. I grew up with these guys. I've known them since I was like 11 or 12. And I'm talking to them, and they're telling me, this Charlie Kirk thing is it's horrible, and it's really bothering them. And I feel like we've seen so much violence, I feel like that's part of it. And, you helped me make sense of this. From the girl getting stabbed in the neck on the train in Charlotte, another young girl in Maryland, 19 years old, she gets killed. There's been like a string of murders, senseless, just brutal murders. And then we get this one, the day before the morning associated with 9/11, and quite a tough week. Do you think that this is, I guess what I'm saying is, I know you're saying that we have more wherewithal than we expect to have, but I'm seeing a lot of people, like an uptick in a lot of people telling me this is hitting me way more than I expected it to hit me. What do you make of that?
Right. Well, I think that's great, because that means that we have a conscience as a country. If you can watch the tape of him getting shot and then say he deserved it, or he should have gotten shot, or he was this, or he was that. I question whether or not you have a conscience. And if you don't have a conscience, that makes you narcissistic and a psychopath. And now we've gone down a whole different row here for the mental health things. And so you can't watch something like that and not feel something if you are a healthy, emotionally healthy human being. It should touch your heart, and you should grieve, and you should feel bad because a life was lost. You know, in America, we have almost 60 million Americans with a mental health diagnosis. We have 9 million Americans who are in the category of severely mentally ill. And those are the folks that hear voices and see things that aren't there. And of that 9 million, maybe a fourth of them get treatment. 3/4 of them never get treatment. So when things like this happen, they don't shock me necessarily because I know the mental health picture that's out there. But we do have to be able to grieve as a country and say, no, this shouldn't happen. And I'm just going to go here and say it's not about gun control, and it's not about those things. It's about treating the mentally ill. And I don't have a diagnosis because I've not met the young man, but I'm pretty sure that there's some pretty serious mental health issues in this young man at 22 especially. And we've got to do a better job of treating the mentally ill in our country.
All right, so let's tackle that, because I have two questions. One, I just played you some audio of a young girl, a young boy, girl, whatever it was, an individual that was saying that, you know, I don't care, he deserved it, blah, 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 right? They're disconnected, they're filled with hate, whatever and whatnot. How do you recommend to me and the rest of the Americans listening to this, how do we respond to that? I can tell you, some will ignore it, but many are not going to ignore it. And what's the best course of action?
Well, from a conservative Christian point of view, I'm going to say the first thing you do is pray for them, because they are not informed. They have their own hatred issues. They have their own mental health issues. They have their own issues in their own life. And the first thing, prayer is a good thing. And I don't care what religion you hold to, prayer is a really good thing to do. And we have to start there. We've got to start unifying ourselves from the division. Our politicians have got to come together. Our leaders have to come together. We can't be a society of hatred. That's not what we're intended to be. We're intended to be a connected society. And we are intended to be in relationship with one another. So it's okay if you have a different opinion, but the best thing I could ever do for someone like that is pray for them.
Got it. Now, you said we need to address America's mental health crisis, and I agree 100%. And you being someone that's done this at so many levels, you've written multiple books on these topics, I really want to get a bird's eye view of your thoughts on how we address that, and I want to do that straight ahead. Amigos, we're coming back with our guest. Our guest is Dr. Vince Callahan. Of course, your calls are coming up as well. Maybe I'll even do a couple of calls with Dr. Callahan if people want to speak with him directly. The phone number, 833-482-5337. His book, Freedom to Change, Understanding and Reshaping the Stressed Brain. I'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDES. That's Valdes with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
All right, familia, welcome back. Rich Valdes here with you, and we're here all night long. Of course, if you want to call, feel free, 833-482-5337. I'm going to get to your calls momentarily. I see we have calls from Virginia, Florida, Illinois, Idaho, and more. 833-4-VALDES. Our guest is Dr. Vince Callahan, the founder of the Florida Institute for Neural Discovery, drvincecallahan.com. He's the author of the book, Freedom to Change, Understanding and Reshaping the Stressed Brain. Dr. Vince Callahan, you said we need to tackle America's mental health crisis. I saw something earlier that said that there's a 300% increase in workers, employees, requesting a mental health leave of absence. This has increased. They're asking for more now than even before COVID. And this is obviously a big issue. And I think it's only going to get worse as things get more hectic in life for people. How do we fix this mental health problem that we have?
Well, I'm going to try to take a 30,000-foot view, and I'm going to try to boil it down into two real key interesting points. One, from the state level down, we need less bureaucracy in getting people into the profession. There's a lot of steps that don't need to be there to get somebody launched in the profession, and we need to get rid of that or minimize that so we can have more people that are going into the field that can address the need. One of the biggest things that we need, especially connected to federal dollars, we need evidence-based treatment. It's not good enough just to set up a practice and somebody comes see you, but if there's federal dollars, like when working with severely mentally ill folks, there's money there that comes from the federal government. Those things need to be evidence-based treatment. In other words, the guy's getting the treatment and he's getting better because the treatment's being done. If we can do that, we can cut down on some of this violence because we're going to have more connections with the severely mentally ill folks. It doesn't shock me that it's up 300% because a lot more people since COVID are identifying as having depression and anxiety. And they're burning out more in their work, and they have less patience, they have less in the tank, so to speak. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where, okay, we need to pay attention to it. If somebody says, I need a mental health day, don't give them the stigma that, oh, what's wrong? Are you faking? And all that kind of stuff. No, hear them, hear their heart, hear where they are, and be a support to them. Not just to say, yeah, well, you just want another day off. No, if somebody really needs the help, by God, let's get it to them.
Yeah. Dr. Vince Callahan, I hear that, brother. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us in the mental health front. A lot of what you've done in your career has helped that to happen, especially with kids in schools and with your latest book, Freedom to Change, Understanding and Reshaping the Stressed Brain. Take a moment and let everybody know how they can get a copy of the book.
A copy of the book, it's on Amazon. It's on the Walmart book section, and you can also get it on KindleHunt.com, which is the publisher. I can tell you that the book is selling. We just sold through our first round of Amazon, and they were temporarily out of stock. And so the book is catching fire. It's also on my website, drvincecallahan.com, which takes you to the Fine Florida website, and it's right there. The Amazon link is right there, and you can buy the book. And I strongly recommend it for teachers, parents, anybody that works with children. This book is for you. It's a reference guide. It's a really, really good book.
Outstanding. Sir, I always appreciate our conversations because, Dr. Vince Callahan, you're one of the best in the business, and you make the complex seem attainable and understandable, and I always appreciate that. Godspeed to you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Amigos, check them out, drvincecallahan.com. Now, I want to go to your calls. Let's hit the phones, 833-4-VALDES. Let's go to Kathleen calling us from McLean, Virginia, WMAL. Kathleen, go right ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And also, many thanks to Dr. Callahan, is it?
Yes.
Absolutely. He's absolutely right on target. I sometimes pray in front of abortion facilities. Sometimes my husband and I go to our school board meetings because, we're concerned. We don't have kids in school right now. But there are a lot of unhinged people out there, and we're dealing with something we haven't encountered. And now with this death of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. Yeah. We are fearful. We are afraid. Sure. We understand people need help. We understand there is a lot going on out there. But I wonder, what would you say? I mean, do we continue to show up and pray and fight, or should we take a break?
Well, I'm going to leave you, when people ask Jesus advice, he always answered it with some sort of parable or scripture. And I'm just going to say, when they came after Jesus, what did he do? I think he went to the garden to pray, and he took up his cross, and he said, follow him. And I think that's what we need to do. And I think this is not the time for us to change course and to try and reinvent the wheel. If anything, this is the time for us to really dig into our faith and see if we really believe what we say we do. Kathleen, thank you for your call. I appreciate it. You're asking questions that so many Americans are thinking right now. Godspeed to you, and keep up your great work in your ministry. And amigos, we come back with the rest of your phone calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes taking your calls. Let's go to the phones. I want to go to Jim, Naperville, Illinois, streaming WMAL. Jim, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdes.
Hey, Rich. Even though the barbaric German side of me wants to go after some heads, the Christian side of me says, no, that's not the right way to go. And, we're going to take the higher ground, just like, this poor man did. He took the higher ground, and he paid the ultimate price for it. And, what we need to do is, I was influenced. There was influencers going back almost 45 years ago, back when I was in school at the University of Illinois, trying to swing me to the Marxist side. Under the veil of what do you call it?
Unions?
No, it was the environment. The environment.
Oh, Greenpeace.
And I even designed a passive solar thing for their collector system to heat their recycling system, which was new back at the time.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing, and they were starting back 45 years ago, and they've been influencing these kids ever since. And I'll tell you what, the people that are funding this need to go to jail.
Here's the thing, Jim. If we punish people for their speech, we're doing exactly what this guy Tyler did to Charlie Kirk. He punished him for his speech. We can't punish people for their free speech if it's truly free, right? If they're making threats, that's a different story. But we have to be able to take the good with the bad here. Chew the meat and spit out the bones. And I'm with you. How we stop the Marxists? We make sure that people could smell them coming a mile away. We stay informed and we stay ready. Jim in Naperville, thank you for your call, my brother. Godspeed to you. Everybody on hold, I'm coming right back. More calls straight ahead. 833-482-5337. And that's it. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes at, on all the social media. I forgot what I was saying. 833-482-5337 is the phone number, 833-4-Valdes. And, of course, I was directing you to our social media at Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S. Now, it is the Friday night edition of the program. My head is spinning. It's been a number of days of just really intense everything. Lots of information, lots of emotion. And today we got a little bit of a break, right? Today we got a very detailed, a very thorough press conference from the State Bureau of Investigations in Utah, also known as Utah in my world, and the FBI. Now, you know me, I like to give you the best context I can when we play the audio, so this might be a little longer than I'd like it to be, but it gives you a lot of detail. And I know some of you are likely at work when this happened, so you might have seen shorter social media clips, or maybe, just really tight sound bites. But I want you to hear all of it because it really is impressive, the amount of work in 33 hours with Kash Patel, the FBI, the White House, the governor, Spencer Cox in Utah, and all of his investigative ability in the State Bureau of Investigation and county sheriffs, et cetera. It was really, I think they said something like a couple of dozen different agencies are involved. So I want you to listen to Governor Spencer Cox today announcing that the killer was caught.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits.
That is, again, from the governor, Spencer Cox in Utah. As you heard that, a lot of detail there about what he was wearing, what he did, using Discord to have messages back and forth, which I found extraordinarily odd. Who's he sending these messages to? Who's this other person that's clearly aware of what's going on? Why aren't we hearing too much about that? I suspect we'll hear more about that as this continues to develop. But that's where we are. And I want to get into that. I want to get into some of the other comments made in this press conference. Of course, Kash Patel taking the podium as well. And some of the odd things that were there, like, hey, fascists, catch this, and other things that they engraved on the bullets, which I thought were just surreal, right? I've never heard of such a thing. I saw for the first time writing on a gun in the Queensland shooting in Australia a couple of years ago. Then for the first time, I saw writing on magazines. On the clips. Okay, got it. That's the new thing they're doing, where they write these anti-fascist comments and whatever. But the big reaction I saw today online was the left saying, oh my gosh, it's a white guy. It's a white guy who grew up in a home where the parents are registered as Republicans. Maybe now they'll understand. And I'm thinking, now they'll understand what? Granted, we've seen a number of shootings where the shooters were identified as trans and, all sorts of other interesting things. So once you see a shooting like this, I think it's a fair point to say, hey, was this also a transgender shooter? However, at the end of the day, we know that these are not MAGA people, right? Because that was the assertion they were making. They made it sound like MAGA's turning on Charlie Kirk. That couldn't be more wrong. This is the anti-fascist left, right? And they're not really anti-fascist because they really embrace fascistic qualities. And they try to label those of us that, push back, I'm going to say, on communism and take exception to Marxism as fascists. Of course, this is the wordplay that they engage in. But the point is, a white guy from Utah who grew up in an otherwise decent home got radicalized. Guy dressed up like Trump, or, a Halloween costume that had Trump in it just a couple of years back, like the year that Trump announced his campaign, maybe the year after. So what does that mean? It means one thing. When you saw this kid there reading his letter of acceptance and getting a scholarship to go to college, that's what it means. It means colleges are creating homegrown terrorists. And that's when I say the left is engaged in a civil war against us. I'm not kidding. I don't think it's hyperbole. I don't know that we're engaged in that same war. It seems like it's a one-sided event, right? And we're the ones taking the casualties. All the bullets are flying in our direction. But the hatred is coming from their side. And I think it's worth pointing that out. So I want to get, the law enforcement perspective on this, because it was a very involved press conference, and I do have a couple of other clips that I want to share with you. So we're going to do that straight ahead. I also want to talk about other things that happen in life, right? Because in addition to this type of crime, there's all sorts of crime that's going on. And we talked about it a couple of nights ago, where we have these hackers in other countries that are all too happy to take us on. And I know for me, I want to live a good life. And the guest we had on the other night, he was an Obama official. He was one of the cybersecurity people in the Obama White House, and has also served in Republican administrations. He made a good comment, and he said, hey, look, either get off these things or get one of those services. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to check in with my friends at WebRoot, who got me a good package. They got me a good package because I want to live a better, safer, I should say, digital life. Because with the news that the major credit reporting agencies have had data breaches that are affecting something like 4 million of their customers, I mean, all I can think of is that could be me. That could be my family. And this is a big example of why it's so important to have products like WebRoot Total Protection Plan. Their total protection plan includes antivirus protection against emerging threats, VPN, cloud backup. This plan also includes up to $1 million in fraud expense reimbursement, 24/7. You get U.S.-based customer service. You even get an elder fraud hotline, as well as identity monitoring and dark web monitoring if they find your information out there. It's all part of their all-in-one product for both individuals and for families, right? Because you can cover multiple people. So WebRoot lets me live a better digital life. You need to let them do the same. Check out their total protection package. Give yourself peace of mind, especially now in the wake of all of these evolving digital threats. If you do it now, you go to the website, webroot.com, and you're going to get 50% off the total protection package. Or you can get the WebRoot Essentials. Either one, it's your choice. Just go to webroot.com and you'll get 50% off webroot.com. My name is Rich Valdes, as you know. You could put that in there. And again, total protection package or the WebRoot Essentials when you go there, webroot.com.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
There is the death penalty in Utah. Yes. And I do know this is going to be a federal case. And there's many of us believe that Charlie was targeted because of his political ideology.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to this guy?
Well, I hope he's going to be found guilty, I would imagine, and I hope he gets the death penalty. What he did, Charlie Kirk was the finest person. He didn't deserve this. He worked so hard and so well. Everybody liked him. I've been watching. Even the left is having a hard time. They fired this guy Dowd from MSDNC, who's a terrible guy, terrible human being. But they fired him. I hear they're firing other people. And, you know, we're talking about radical left. Now, they're a little bit, but radical left networks and cable channels, horrible channels like MS. I always go at DNC because it's, you know, somehow affiliated with the Democrat National Committee. So, you know, it's a little statement you make. But MSNBC, but NBC, ABC, CBS, they're all terrible, absolutely terrible and unfair. But even they have been giving it sort of like this can't be allowed to happen.
That, of course, President Trump on the Fox News channel this morning and making it clear what he thinks about the media and what he thinks should happen to the assassin of Charlie Kirk. They caught this guy, and now the question is, will he be adjudicated and tried and sentenced to the death penalty? I don't know the answer to that. But I want to bring in somebody who can help us understand things from the law enforcement perspective. Brian Higgins is with us. Chief Brian Higgins, retired from the Bergen County Police Department of Bergen County, New Jersey. He's president of Group 77 Security. They're a public safety consulting firm and do an amazing job. Brian Higgins, welcome, sir.
Thanks, Rich. Good to be here.
You bet. Thanks for staying up late with us. And I want you to hear a clip of the governor explaining a little bit more of what happened and what they found. This is at a law enforcement press conference earlier today. Governor Spencer Cox, joined by the director of the SBI, as well as the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Check this out.
So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Chief, this is interesting stuff to me. I really don't know what to make of this. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything. This guy's in Discord sending messages about where he stashed the gun, which to me sounds like the dumbest thing any murderer would ever do is say, hey, by the way, here's the murder weapon. But there's also the question of when did this become a thing? Maybe I missed it, but when did people start engraving insults on bullets? Chief Higgins.
You know, Rich, recently we've seen this with the shooter of the United Healthcare CEO, where there are messages encrypted. You know, it could go back as far as, you know, when the military would write inscriptions or messages to the enemy on big bombs and then drop them into their cities. But this writing on bullets is relatively new, or at least is being identified relatively new.
Yeah, it seems odd to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this because you have a lot of experience, and there's a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of people out there that right away were like, "This is a professional hit. This is that," and Carl Higbee from Newsmax TV, I heard him say yesterday or the day before, he said, "No, it's not." He said, "You're talking about a headshot at 200 yards." And he said, you know, anybody with a little bit of practice could do something like that. And I thought to myself, the last time I went to the range, I was taking headshots and getting almost all of them at 100 yards. And I'm not an excellent shot by any means. I was doing it with one eye because my other eye is horrible. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe it makes sense. If you have decent vision and you have a scope and you have a decent rifle, maybe you can make it. I'm not going to make that argument pro or con. I've never taken a shot that precise with a rifle at 200 yards. But it opened up a conversation that was this a professional hit? Was it some disgruntled person? I tended to agree with his analysis that it was likely something like what we see here. But ultimately, I want to get your analysis on this and your reaction, but we've got to hit a commercial pause, so I got to leave everybody hanging here. Folks, we're going to come right back with Chief Brian Higgins, who's going to tell us what he thinks about this case and about some of the follow the white rabbit stuff that's going on all over the internet where people are coming up with new conclusions, as well as was there another person involved and things of that nature with those messages on Discord. So keep it locked right here. We're coming back with retired Bergen County Police Chief Brian Higgins, president of Group 77 Security, and me, Rich Valdes. Don't go anywhere.
Look at Rich Valdes. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times.
In the hardest of times, 33 hours, and they got the bad guy. Kudos to Kash Patel, kudos to Governor Cox and all the law enforcement professionals in Utah, because the Utahns, the Utah, I think they're called Utahns, right? The Utahns, they really they did their thing here. And we're seeing justice for Charlie Kirk and really justice for all of America, who was looking forward to seeing, accountability here. But there's more, right? There's questions everywhere. Was this the Mossad? Was this a professional hit? Was it this? Is this guy a patsy? Is he a fall guy? Are we reliving what we saw in the 60s? So many things are going on. And I want to get the take of Chief Brian Higgins. He's retired from the Bergen County Police Department. He's now the president of Group 77 Security, which is a public safety consulting firm. And Chief, you've heard a lot of things going on here. We've heard about these messages about I wrapped up the rifle in a towel, this back and forth. Was this because he was hoping to, somebody would find these messages? Was this because there's somebody else involved? Am I missing something here? Help me make sense of it.
Ultimately, it will be the investigation, which is ongoing. Even though they have their suspect in custody, this investigation will go on for some time so that they can continue to collect every bit of evidence they can. Even though they have their suspect, they still have to rule out any others, include any others. So when they go to trial, that's one of the first things a defense attorney will say. Why didn't you look for other people? Why did you stop looking for others when you arrested our client? You said 2 other people were people of interest. How do we know we're not theirs? They're not the shooters. So the investigation is ongoing right now, Rich. So it is critical that they continue to collect information and evidence. I'm sure this individual thought at some time he would either die and leave behind a message, or this evidence would be found, and in that evidence leave another message, which is the words you read.
Right. And that seems to be a common thread with a lot of these shooters, whether it's school shooters or otherwise, that I'm seeing is that there's always some sort of larger message. They feel like they're on some sort of mission where they've got to leave this manifesto, if you will. And to me, it just shows how messed up in the head they are, if you ask me. But this is, I guess, the question a lot of people have on their mind is, based on your experience being a cop in one of the most populated places in America, in Bergen County, New Jersey, does this sound plausible to you? Does it sound like a thing where somebody grows up, they get through high school, they're pretty normal, all of a sudden they go to college, they become radicalized for the Marxist left and start becoming a communist sympathizer? I saw some photos, I don't know how legitimate they were, of him wearing DSA T-shirts, Democrat Socialists of America, seemingly getting radicalized with Marxist ideology in college, to the point where he now wants to murder someone and become an assassin because of these political differences. It just sounds so absurd to me, Chief.
Rich, it is absurd, but unfortunately, it is the message we're hearing. Not everybody who goes to college, not everybody who is radicalized becomes violent or kills. But, I hear stories.
Right. Some go to Congress.
Right. You're absolutely right. Unfortunately. I saw that Congresswoman and her interview about Charlie Kirk, and it made me want to throw up. When you talk about people who are off, right? Like you said, they're crazy. They're writing messages. They feel the need to kill. She sent out a dog whistle. She sent out a message that killing is okay. It should continue. But that's what these kids are getting, unfortunately. Colleges are the flashpoint. It's a message I've been pushing for quite a while. Colleges are where these kids are being taught, first of all, you can't have dialogue. You can't accept anyone else's opinion. They're going to college to be enlightened. And in that enlightenment, they're showing them in their words, the truth is. And it's at a point now, Rich, where you have to be on these campuses to realize how bad it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all see it. These kids think it's okay to go buy a rifle or steal your dad's rifle or do whatever they feel like they need to do in order to make a point that they couldn't make because they couldn't debate this guy. So let me kill the guy. I mean, it's crazy to me. But equally as crazy, or I should say challenging or taxing, is, and you tell me what you may have heard. You're more plugged in than me on this stuff. Is this guy? His dad was the sheriff, and he goes to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm the killer," and his dad says, "You better turn yourself in." I can't imagine what that moment is like for either of them, but mainly for the dad, right? Who's thinking, "Geez, like this is death penalty stuff, Chief."
Yeah, how do you ever recover from that as a parent? And this isn't the first time. If you remember, just a few months ago, the shooting at Florida State University, the shooter took his mom's gun. It was her duty gun, and she was a cop.
Right.
So we have seen these before. Shooters whose parents are in the military, law enforcement. So just because someone's in law enforcement or the military doesn't mean that they're going to be exempt from, dealing with others in the family having mental health issues. I do say, it is to his father's credit that his father immediately said, you got to turn yourself in. It would be difficult as a parent, right, to be torn, but at the same time, knowing what you have to do.
Have you heard anything from your industry contacts and colleagues about that? Any sidebar commentary?
About the father?
Yeah.
No, nothing else. Just quite frankly, I don't know that it's been confirmed. You're the first one that I trust to confirm it. We've heard rumors, but no stories that we found or heard, because that's the conversation, right? Amongst cops, the first thing you say is, "Oh my God, can you imagine that was your kid?"
Right.
And it's not always extreme. There are cops whose kids, commit other crimes, right? They commit robberies, they get hooked on drugs. So it's not like law enforcement families are exempt from this stuff. But nothing from what I hear right now would indicate that this is something his father should have picked up.
Yeah. It really is a horrible thing, really, all around. The kid's a stone cold murderer, and family has to deal with that. Charlie Kirk's family has to deal with that. America has to deal with that. And hopefully we get anybody else that was involved. Chief, any questions that I'm missing in a situation like this? Because honestly, I can't tell you. I don't think I've ever been through this type of assassination before.
No, this is unusual, but we're seeing this now, right? Going back to President Trump. When you go outside the United States, we're seeing assassinations, right?
Yeah, in Colombia.
Politicians, yeah. So it seems to be that these
Making
things are on the move. Yeah, it does, unfortunately. I really believe that has something to do with the rhetoric.
Okay, so what's your advice as retired chief of police? What do we do? Stop talking? Give up on free speech? Pack an extra gun? What do we do?
No. First and foremost, no. We can't stop. We can't back down. Charlie Kirk will live on, and so will his message because of what happened that day, unfortunately. And we can't let him continue to die in vain, really. We have to continue that message. Can't have to back down. It for many people, and the conversations I have with a lot of friends is, what? We feel emboldened now or encouraged. I sometimes feel like I didn't say enough at times during the George Floyd riots and the defund the police movement, all this craziness that, I don't want to be the one who's antagonistic, but
yeah, you don't want to be the one to ruffle the feathers, but deep inside, you knew this is crazy.
It is crazy. You have to be a professional. I was on quite a few interviews during the defund the police movement, and the way the media let others talk to me in those interviews, like I was the crazy guy, and I tried to take the high road.
Gaslighting.
Yeah. And I tried to take the high road, Rich. And honestly, we need to speak up. That doesn't mean we need to be louder. It doesn't mean we become violent. It doesn't mean we turn up the rhetoric like the left does.
Right.
But we have to be. One thing that's the most impressive for me with Charlie Kirk is he was never nasty, mean-spirited. He did it like a gentleman, caring way. But that guy knew his stuff. He was, I have believe it or not, in my early life, I went to a Baptist college seminary.
Oh, wow.
So my undergraduate degree is in Bible. And I watch and listen to Charlie Kirk, and he amazes me. He had a handle on the Bible like I can't claim to have.
Yeah,
even
it
though I
wasn't
have a degree in
surface level.
Bible.
He was digging in for sure.
He was digging in, and it wasn't just knowledge. That guy lived it.
Yeah.
So we have to do that too. So there's two ways to do it. Speak up. Don't let them silence us, and live it.
Amen to that. Chief Brian Higgins, I got to leave it there. I got to take a pause. We all can learn something from Charlie Kirk, and I think we all learned something from you right now as well. Chief, give us your website real quick.
www.group77.com.
Group77.com. Chief Brian Higgins, Godspeed to you, sir. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot.
Thank you, Rich.
You bet. Amigos, your calls and more coming up right now.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S. Now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. And a little bit of update, a little bit of breaking news. The Washington County Sheriff's Office in Hurricane, Utah, has announced that information has been circulating indicating that a retired deputy of the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Matt Robinson, is related to the suspect, Tyler Robinson, involved in the ongoing investigation concerning the Charlie Kirk assassination. However, a retired deputy, Matt Robinson, is not connected or related to the individual apprehended last night. There are several people with the same name, and this was misinformation generated from an unknown source. So an update there on that front as we get more information or continued corroborated information. We'll get it to you as soon as we get it. But right now, we're going to go to your calls. Let's see. Let's go to Tim. Tim is calling us on line 2. From Springfield, Illinois, WTAX.
Rich,
Good
I
evening.
wanted to tell everybody to take comfort in Romans 8:28 because that is the verse that you really need to pay attention to right now. This is the beginning of a great 8:28.
And that is that God will work all things for good.
Yeah,
right,
my family was born of that because my grandmother's side would not exist if it hadn't been for the 1908 race riots. My great-grandmother was married to an Irishman, and he got into a, yelling match with the mob as they were coming down the street, white mob on Irishman, and they dragged him off the porch and shot him in the head and trampled him. But if that hadn't happened, then my great-grandmother wouldn't have married the best man who, they had my grandmother and she had kids and my mom and, and now there's like 131 people that would not exist if that race riot hadn't happened. So we always have to look at, Charlie was a big influence. And now people had never heard of him are going to go, who is this guy that they're talking about? And he's got millions of, it's going to be so big, the people that he's going to influence now, even after he's gone. So praise God. Thank you, Charlie. And that's all.
Amen, brother. I appreciate that. And again, for the benefit of the audience, Romans 8:28 is, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And really good comment. I agree. We can all be tempted to have a Braveheart moment and go after the bad guys and do exactly what they did to Charlie. But then again, it kind of vacates and negates the entire premise of the crucifixion, in my opinion, right? Up until Christ coming to fulfill the law, it was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Jesus came and said, you've heard that done, but I am the fulfillment of the law. So who am I to argue with Jesus? Let's go to Steve, Linden, Virginia, WMAL. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. First of all, I'm going to give you what I consider to be the blue-collar patriot perspective, and that's this. First of all, the doctor that you had on was talking about real truth. Okay, well, you know what? It's not about real truth. What it's about is logic and reason, okay? It's about facts rather than feelings that dictate beliefs about things. So right there, you know, he's missing the mark, okay? Now, no offense. Now, Maxine Waters, before the shooting happened of the Catholic kids, God bless them,
yeah.
She said that we're already in a civil war, and she basically called for violence. Now, Steve Scalise was shot by a man named James Hodgkinson. That shooting happened because, you know, the left-wing media created that monster, James Hodgkinson, and this is how they did it, by showing pictures of kids in cages and attributing that to the Trump administration when those cages were built, and that footage happened during the Obama administration. Now, and I want to say a lot here because here's what it's coming down to, okay? People like me are tired of hearing people like that doctor talking about therapy and more mental health stuff. The fact is, you got a rabid dog in your backyard. Oh, we need to try to reason with it. Okay, no, Rich, no, doctor.
What are you suggesting, Steve?
You know, for God's sake, Charlie Kirk, Steve Scalise, those kids, so many others that you have mentioned that I'm not talking about, but that, you know, now
you got to get to it, Steve. I have to hit a break. I don't want to cut you off.
I am suggesting, Rich, if you'll allow me to finish. President Trump, for God's sake, they shot the president.
All right, Steve, you got to hold on. I got to take a break. Put your thoughts together. I'll come right back to you.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, to the phones we go. We're going to pick up with Steve in Linden, Virginia, making his point very quickly. WMAL, go right ahead. Steve.
All of our backs, especially yours, because you're a talk show host, but I've been threatened because of certain views I have. So here's what it comes down to. Okay, the left-wing media and the Democrat have created these people and created this situation, and they're dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave. So here's what needs to be done about it. You ask me, I'm going to tell you. Quickly. President Trump needs to take action and do mass arrests of high-profile Democrats, Hillary, Obama, Maxine Waters, and arrest them.
What would the charge be? What is the charge?
And here's I'm sorry, what?
What are you charging them with? What crime?
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Sedition. Okay, that's
All
what.
right.
And you know what?
Steve. Thank you, Steve. All right. I wish I had another half hour, but he likes to repeat himself. Folks, I'm coming right back. Rich Valdes, 833-482-5337. We're going to continue this conversation. Do we jail and kill everybody that we don't agree with?
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdes, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdes.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Welcome to the Friday night edition of the program. We're live and national. Join us, please. I'm looking forward to it. 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdes. And they've caught the killer of Charlie Kirk, the governor of Utah, chiming in, saying that there was no burning, there was no looting, there was no violence on the streets, but they were able to apprehend him pretty much without incident. Listen to this.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or
Governor
implied
Cox
that he had
is
committed
talking
the
about
incident.
cars on fire. Listen to this.
Look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that's
exactly what it's about, sharing this humanity, right? I believe that is the right thing. Yet we're having a debate here, a national conversation, a come to Jesus moment for America, if you will, where people that are angry feel like we need to go after these people. I'm willing to have the conversation because you know what? I was there yesterday, and I get there a lot of times. But ultimately, do you beat the bad guys by becoming the bad guys? That's always the question. Are we going to punish the people for their hatred? That's accountability. Are we going to punish people for their free speech, for saying they hate me, for saying they hate you, for saying they hate Charlie Kirk, for saying they hate Donald Trump, for saying they hate America? Are we going to punish them and kill them because they say stupid things? Isn't that what they just did to Charlie Kirk? Are we about to become the left? Or are we going to be the change we want to see? That's the question. Here's the phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. Let's go to Sam, Decatur, Illinois, WFOY. Sam, you're on with Rich Valdes. Go right ahead.
Are you willing to take the perspective of a leftist?
You're on the air, sir. Make your perspective heard.
My perspective is this. I am always been left of center, but I've drifted farther left as of age. I'm going to make it real short. I've got a very close family friend who is trans, and I've had to change my perspectives on a lot of things. And that individual has endured innumerable hate over the last couple of days because there was trans ideology on these bullets. There was Antifa ideology on these bullets. And now it turns out, if the reporting is to believe, and the time is early yet, and that's one of the things that people have to remember. It's early yet. We don't know. But
what don't we know?
If the reporting is believed, this person was a groiper.
Why would you say that? This person's been photographed wearing shirts that say Democrat Socialists of America. Groypers aren't Democrat Socialists of America. No, he's been
photographed, and I can send you, if you would kindly.
No, just put it on social media and tag me at Rich Valdes. But
he has been photographed wearing Trump shirts, and he's a groiper.
There's not a single photo out there of him wearing a Trump shirt. There's a picture of him with a Halloween costume where he has Trump on him. But, I mean, yesterday he had a picture of the Bible and a cross on his chest. Do you think that he was out there representing Jesus? Do you think it's a responsible comment to say that this guy is somehow a Christian and was doing the godly thing in assassinating Charlie Kirk? Of course not. That would be asinine to think that. Now, am I here to defend groypers? No. I don't really know much about them. I know that I don't know anybody in the MAGA movement, a Republican, a constitutional conservative Christians. I don't know anybody who embraces that movement and says, yeah, these guys are legit. In my opinion, the groypers are the same as the leftists. They are the fringe that doesn't really represent what America's about. And clearly, they do crazy things. Now, that being said, this guy likely, I mean, if you look at it, this is anti-fascist commentary when he's, catch this and the things he's talking about. I don't think that's that's pretty self-explanatory, Sam. I mean, if you can try to split hairs here, but I don't think you're going to get a big audience there.
May I have a moment?
Well, you've had plenty. You've been on for 2 minutes and 47 seconds. I usually give a minute. I'm giving you extra time.
You've been talking through most of it.
That's what I do here, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So.
All that for silence? Come on, man. It's radio. Get with it.
Do some research online here. The gentleman is using a lot of gamer culture. He's using a lot of groiper culture. And boy, the mainstream media...
Even if we concede the point, that's fine. Let's just say it. What you're saying is accurate, which I don't think it is. Even if we were to concede that point, it doesn't make anything better. It doesn't change any outcome. The point remains, we don't kill people because we disagree with them. And by and large, every last shooting that I could think of somebody being shot because of their political affiliation, it was not a MAGA person. It was not some conservative Republican that was saying, let me go out there and shoot people I don't like.
Caught wearing MAGA T-shirt.
This is a smoking gun to you? I'm more concerned with you telling me that you're left of center and that because someone close to you is trans, you've had to change your opinions. Imagine if I were to say, I am genuinely not into supporting drugs, but someone close to me is a crackhead. And because now someone close to me is an addict, I've reevaluated my position on addicts. And I think, you know what, we it's not so bad being an addict. You know, we need to stop stigmatizing it. We need to make it seem like being an addict is okay. Maybe you should try it. That would be insane to do something like that. Anyway, brother, I thank you for your call. I wish you the best. I welcome the rest of your calls. 833-4-Valdes. I think this person has hung up, so we'll keep going. Where do we go now? Lester, Daytona Beach, Florida, WNDB. Lester, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Rich. I'm going to make it quick. Okay, I'm saying this because I think it's pertinent tonight, and also because on several occasions you've mentioned that rocky road you want to live on and the horse you want to have. And what I want to say is this. I've had people tell me the way to control a horse is with love, and the horse will do what you want it to do in return for the love you're going to give it. And I've had other people tell me the way to control a horse is with a bit. The bit causes pain. The horse will do what it can to avoid the pain. And my vote goes to the bit. I never was too good at faking love. And
let me ask you this, Lester. Forget about horses, as much as we might love them. Do you have children?
2.
Did you use pain? Did you beat your children into compliance, or did you love them and tell them, hey, look, I love you, and here's what you should do? What approach did you use?
I used rational conversation with them.
Yeah, and that's what I think.
And they still despise me. They still despise me. So, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think rational conversation is the way to go. You can have rational conversation with the left. If they're irrational, they're irrational. What are you going to do? If they attack you, you attack back and you win. But this premise, I feel that we're embarking on is somehow it's unprecedented. I mean, I've never seen any modern movement, at least in the conservative movement, not from the abolitionist movement, not from the Enlightenment, not from anywhere, that the idea was let's kill the bad guys, right? I mean, isn't that what they're doing to us?
No, you don't kill the horse with a bit. It's very subtle pain.
So how do you make are you saying we should go around with bats and just, hey, you're Antifa, come here, let me snap your kneecaps? I don't get the analogy.
Not bats either. Some people do take whips and bats to horses. That's the thing, Rich. It's a subtle pain, and I believe that civilization has marched forward, sure, with love,
What is the
too.
subtle pain that you recommend that would somehow curtail the violence on the left?
My gosh, Rich, I wish I knew that. I would be in the business making it for people.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. Listen, I think what has to be done is you've always got to focus on true north. right? And you just look at Trump. Look at Charlie Kirk. They try to put Trump in jail. They try to kill Trump. He didn't turn around and say, I'm going to kill every last one of you. He didn't turn around and say, I'm going to put every last one of you in jail, right? He's focused on making America a better place. Charlie Kirk, there couldn't be a better example of living what you believe. And that's all I'm saying. Pick a lane and stick in it. My lane, personally, if you come for me, I'm coming for you. But if you're not coming for me, let's figure out why. Let's have the conversation that I have every single day on this radio program, because ultimately it's super important to have these conversations so that we know where we're going. And I get what you're saying. Listen, I was brought up by an old Puerto Rican guy, my dad, and he always told me, mata el perro y se acaba la rabia. That means if you kill the rabid dog, it will be rabid no more. And this is how I was raised. But ultimately, I realized that's a rabid dog. The left might be a rabid dog in some instances, but in many, I think there's some leeway here. Call me crazy. Lester, thanks for your call. Shout out to WNDB. More calls from Montana, Kentucky, Oregon, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. And you sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdes with an S.
They should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea. The evildoers.
You have no idea what you've unleashed. That is the widow of Charlie Kirk, Mrs. Erica Kirk. Of course, our condolences and thoughts to her family. And great words from her, because a very inspiring speech, really calling on America to turn their hearts towards Jesus. And I'm not a preacher. I hate even saying I'm not a perfect man. I'll never be a perfect man. I'm so messed up. But it's always important, right? Whether you know you're doing right or you know you're doing wrong, you always know what right is. And this is something that I think is incredibly important. Whether you choose to do wrong or not, you can teach others around you to do right. And that's the analogy I've always made, and it's probably a crass one, but I've never seen a drug-addicted parent recommend to their kid that they should get high too. I just haven't seen it. Maybe it happened. I'm sure that there are people that are that depraved. But typically you see people dealing with addiction, they're in shame. They don't want to say, hey, kid, come here. Yeah, stick this needle in your arm. This is going to be great for you. Now, they know it's bad for them. They just can't stop it. We always know right from wrong. If we choose wrong on purpose, then that's on us. So the question I've had this evening with our audience is, I think, a pretty black and white one. In the face of evil, do we repay that evil with evil, or do we repay that evil with good? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Alvin, Louisville, Kentucky. You're on with Rich Valdes, WGTK. Go right ahead.
Hey, I've been dying to say this. Hello, Rich Valdes. I've been listening to you for a minute, and I appreciate the program.
Thank you.
I was calling up because of the things you're talking about, and I wanted you to help me coin a word, and the word is called colorblindness. Now, if you have this affliction, you don't have the ability to distinguish between black and white. everything is this color to you. You have no, everything is color. Yeah, so if you have this affliction, color blindness, you can't see things in black and white. It's never like that for you, you know. So I want you to help coin that word with me.
Yeah, listen, I love it. And, you know, there's a lot of good that came out of Dr. Martin Luther King. There's some people that are critics of his that don't like a lot of things he did, but I always appreciated some of his key teachings. While I get the criticism of it, I love the idea of, you know, in the I Have a Dream speech, he says, doesn't matter if you're black, white, Latino, it's about the content of your character or not the color of your skin. And I, as a little kid, I remember hearing that, and I said, you know, that makes sense, right? It should be about who you are as a person. And it made sense to me because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and in where I lived, I couldn't say I lived in a Jewish neighborhood because there was a bunch of Arabs in our neighborhood. I couldn't say that it was a white neighborhood because there were other people like me in that neighborhood, right? So it was a very mixed neighborhood where I lived, you know, kind of the convergence of several neighborhoods, Midwood and close to Sheepshead Bay and close to Flatbush. So the point I'm making is I grew up seeing so many different people. I remember kindergarten. They would force you to take nap time. And even if you didn't sleep, you had to lay down on the little plastic mat. And the kid next to me, I'll never forget, I shared this story before, but his name was Osama Marrero. And if I remember it right, he was Egyptian and Dominican. And what a mix, right? Then the other kid next to me, he was Jewish. His name was Mark Schulman. There was another kid next to me, really tall, very light-skinned black kid. His name was Stanhope Ellis. And that was and there was a Puerto Rican girl, Jessica Maldonado, and a white girl named Melody Jones. And these were all wonderful people, right? And that's the world I grew up in. And so for the most part, I've always, I see race, but I see it as nuance, right? Because I've never had a racial animus one way or the other. And I think that's how we have to look at people. We have to look at people by merit, by what they bring to the table, who they are as a person, not necessarily what they look like. So I'm with you on that one, Alvin. Louisville, Kentucky in the building. WGTK, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Amigos, the music means I have to take a pause right here, but we're coming back. Atlanta, Georgia, Oregon, KUMA in the building, Kentucky, Montana, and more. Don't go anywhere.
You have given us the voice of hope. You give us hope, and we thank you so much for that. You make things seem brighter.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
Say it at the same time. Now, I did a video a few minutes ago saying that Charlie Kirk had been shot at Utah Valley University, and he's in critical condition. And it just came out that he died. And condolences to Charlie Kirk and his family. But y'all, I'm so angry. I'm angry, I'm sad, because this should have never happened. This country has become so divided that a person feel like they can take your life because you don't agree with them politically, or you won't get in line and think the way they want you to think.
This woman's commentary is absolutely amazing. She hits the nail on the head. I want to play the whole thing for you, but honestly, she's a little bit not too clean with the F-bombs, and we got to bleep a lot of them, and it's going to take a while to get you the full clip. But she's 100% spot on, because Charlie Kirk didn't accept what was being shoved down his throat from the mainstream culture. He was murdered for that. And somehow we should be okay with people killing people because we don't agree. And doing it that way, when he's trying the peaceful route, the debate route, and they're trying the violence route. Let's go to your calls. Norma, Pendleton, Oregon, KUMA. Norma, what say you?
Hi. I love listening to your show.
Thank you.
I love freedom. And that's freedom of religion,
freedom to be who you are. And I just don't like a whole lot of choking religion and telling people that they're wrong. You know, once you become who you are, that's who you are. And you have to live in that skin, and you have to love yourself. And I've met all kinds of people in the world, gay people, and I'm hermaphrodite. One time I met one of those, and I worked in mental health for a lot of years because I've always pondered what makes people tick, since the high chair and the woman that used to have seizures in front of me. I've always pondered mental health, and I just never liked the insanity defense. I think we all have a breaking point, and people have a lot of stress, and nobody pays attention until something horrible happens. And for years, there was no services at all in mental health. And I just think, you know, you should change the things you can change, and go to church for your religion and whatever it is. I was raised in a six-decker with all different kinds of religion, and a mother who taught Sunday school and let me go where I wanted to go, and I went everywhere. And I'm pretty broad-minded that way.
Sure,
But
listen,
I
I think everybody should be free to think what they want to think, including the everybody, right? I support the people that don't like what Charlie Kirk has to say, not liking it. Good for you. You don't want to like it, don't like it. And I support Charlie Kirk not liking certain things he sees and being able to call those things out and have those debates. What I don't accept, and I hope you don't, but that's up to you, is shooting someone in the neck because you don't like what they say.
There's something mentally deranged with that person. I mean, nobody normal does that. And I'd like to see the insanity defense change to not innocent by insanity, but how about guilty but insane?
Right. I'm with you. And, you know, there has been a push, particularly by Democrats, over the last 30 years to eliminate mental institutions because they feel that it's too constrictive and it's not fair. And a lot of people went with it. Guess what? Look at where we are. We've got a lot of crazy people walking the streets. And I'm not saying this particular person, although I think that was insane, but others, like the guy who stabbed the woman on the subway the other day in Charlotte, North Carolina, or so many of the other senseless things that we see. Sadly, there are a lot of people that need help, whether it's inpatient help or ongoing outpatient help, but they need some sort of help. And if you're stabbing people when you're in public, then you probably shouldn't be in the public. So I think we're in agreement on that one for sure. Norma in Pendleton, Oregon, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Shout out to KUMA, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate that. Let us continue. Where do we go? We're going to go to Josh, Atlanta, Georgia, WGKA. Go right ahead.
You are such a blessing. Thank you for having this format for all of us to share in. And I've been listening to you for a long time. And I watched you sub for Mr. Bohannon, and it was just wonderful to see what you've done. And I really appreciate you.
Thanks.
I first remember hearing Charlie Kirk a few years ago, and at first I didn't know what to make of him. And he won me over. I'm devastated. This man was never cruel to anybody. And he had so much love inside of him. He never used the language and the grace of the Bible in a way to insult people or make them subhuman or anything like that. It seemed like his goal was to make people happy by way of virtue. And who can argue with that?
Yeah, you know, Josh, I think you're right. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you're right. And I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that I can get into a political discussion or a debate on something, and I'm happy to become petty, right? It's just the flaw in my character. Charlie was really full of grace. He was a really nice guy. Even if when he was being snippy and pushing back, it was still very eloquent, very kind, very respectful. And you have to give him credit for that. And I'm not saying if my style is a little bit more abrasive or his is a little bit more gentle, that either one of us qualifies for a bullet to the head, because nobody should do that. And I think, you know, part of the issue this evening and over the last day or two, Josh, has been people celebrating this. And again, they're free to do that. I get it. Not everybody has to adhere to my beliefs in Jesus. Not everybody has to believe in God at all. Some people want to be angry. Some people want to hate others. It is their right to do so. I pray that they don't. But ultimately, there should be certain universal truths, like we don't kill people, kind of like the Ten Commandments, right, which happen to be supported by law, that I think we should adhere to. And sadly, this guy didn't adhere to these things, and I wish we could say it's the exception to the rule, which it is, but we really shouldn't have exceptions like that ever. And it's just troubling to see that that's where discourse gets us every now and again, Josh.
Mr. Valdes, I learned so much from this man, and I learned from you. And there are worse things for our children to see, considering what they see online, than the Ten Commandments in right. their lives. And God bless you. Let's be strong, and thank you for being there again.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and for tuning into the show. I appreciate it, and do what you got to do. It sounds like you're on the right track, brother. God bless. And amigos, we continue with the rest of your calls and more straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes. Call now, 833-4-VALDES. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDES. That's Valdes with an S.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. You sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes, and I want to go to the phones, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. As you know, the tradition of open phones, Open Phone America on this program is older than I am, and started by the late, great Larry King when he took over this time slot from Long John Nebel on the Mutual Broadcasting System. And his newsman, you may know him, guy with amazing pipes, the late, great Jim Bohannon, the legend himself, taking over the program, 3 decades, continuing that tradition. And, of course, you and I get to make radio magic and honor that tradition this evening as well. So, again, that number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDES. You can chime in on anything you like. Let's go to Frank, Evergreen, Montana, KOFI. Go for it.
Hi, Rich.
Sir?
I had just got back from Scotland.
Oh,
I was
nice.
over there since the first, and I'm glad to be back here. Though it's a lot of rock to walk on over there. Those old castles, that used to be a volcanic island that was actually taller than all the tallest mountains in China and Nepal,
Wow.
etc. It was, and it sunk quite a bit, about 6,000 feet, but it left a lot of magma, big rocks that they built these castles out of. But a lot of these, they didn't know about radioactive rocks. So there's uranium in some of these castle walls,
Wow.
etc. Thorium.
How does that affect the people that live in the castles?
Yeah, they're crazy. They're insane to live in these places like that.
Well, Trump has a castle, or at least a really big property over there, Turnberry, and on his golf course. And I have a colleague. I used to work with the amazing, very talented Juliette Huddy from the Fox News Channel, and she was in radio for some years, and she's no fan of the presidents, by the way, but she loved the Trump Turnberry resort. She said it was a fantastic property. She went. She had an absolute fantastic time. She couldn't stop telling me about it, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I've always wanted, left me, as we say in Spanish, me dejó con las ganas. I stayed wanting to go.
The Loch Ness is where you want to be, though. It's more of like a national park, more it's a healthier forest, more water. It's good water, but it was
Did you see the Loch Ness Monster, Frank?
I was the Loch Ness Monster. Yes.
I love that. I definitely got to make my way there. That's good. Well, thank you for the update on the radioactive rocks in the castles. I had never heard about that. Makes a lot of sense. Molten lava and all that crazy. I love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Frank. Let's continue. Let's go to Spencer calling us from Lansing, Michigan, WILS. Spencer, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdes.
Hey, what's going on, Rich? Hey, just wanted to share my the first time I ever met Charlie was way back in 2012 when he started up Turning Point. And this is just a story real quick that proves that he didn't change one day in his existence, and which was I remember meeting this young 18-year-old kid trying to get everybody to listen to him at CPAC that year, okay? And I gave him that chance, and I knew right away that he was going to leave an impression, but just everything about me wanted to walk away, but he kept driving you in because he was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And you know, and it was one of those things where I actually had yesterday, I was in the middle of public and I just broke down crying. Mm-hmm. And you think about those things. I actually had to pull myself away and go to my church, and I prayed for 45 minutes for the first time in a long time. And I just wanted to share that one story. 10 years ago, he didn't change one bit in 10 years. So, it's amazing how he had this big of an impact on everybody.
You know, Spencer, it's true. And again, I don't know Charlie Kirk as well as many do, but, I've talked to him on the phone a few times. I've met him in person. And I can tell you that he seemed like the real deal to me each and every time. He was a very solid guy that was really rooted in his philosophy, which seemed incredibly biblically sound and ground in his faith. And, that people like that are they're magnetic. You want to be around those people because they give off this air, this aura about them that is genuine and I'm going to say not malicious. So you tend to want to catch a little bit of the light that's shining off of them. And he is definitely one of those people. And I've met others like that. And it's always a joy to be around people like that. So I know what you're talking about, and I appreciate you sharing the story. And, second part of what I want to say is what you said to me is what so many of my very close friends, I have the good fortune in life of hanging out with my boys. I've never really stopped, for a little while I was raising my kids, but for the most part, I hang out with my friends probably about as much as I did when I was 15, but the same guys too. We all live kind of close to each other. We have pretty flexible schedules where we're able to get together 2 to 3 times a week. And sometimes it's once a week, but I know I see my friends a lot more than a lot of guys my age see their friends. And I know it's a blessing. And I say that to say we talk a lot. And when I see them, and when I was talking to them today and I saw some of them, I went to church today too. And I saw a couple of my buddies at church. They were sharing with me, how they were tearing up. And he was like, I don't even know this guy. But it was just something about him that it was so genuine. And, what you're saying, I'm hearing echoed by a lot of people. And not people that listen to talk radio or listen to my show, just people that are awake and alive and well and are paying attention. So you're spot on, brother. I appreciate your thoughts on this. Spencer in Lansing, shout out to you guys. WILS, Michigan in the building. And I'm going to take a pause right here. We're going to come right back with the rest of your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdes.
You have given us the voice of hope. You give us hope, and we thank you so much for that. You make things seem brighter.
America at Night with Rich Valdes.
All right, amigos, welcome back. And we're going to continue with some of your calls. But before we do, I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts. And that is, so many of us are struggling and going back and forth, torn. I'm going to say we're torn over this issue of how do we repay evil? Do we repay evil with good, or do we repay evil with evil? And, you know, I err on the side of the Bible, right? I know what carnally, what I would like to do, how I feel. I know my reactions, my passions become inflamed. I go, let's do this, right? But, you know, you sit down and you say, all right, hold on, take it easy. Calm yourself. And you start to think, WWJD, what would Jesus do? At least this is what I do. It's what I've tried to teach my children to do. And you've got to figure out, what did Jesus do, right? Now, ultimately, he dies. He dies on the cross so that he can live eternally, and so can we. And I don't mean to turn this show into, some sort of hours-long proselytizing session. But I think what people believe, what you stand on is what you stand on. It's what you've got. And when push comes to shove, meaning it's time to meet your maker, and there's nothing left, all you've got is what you stand on. It's really all you've got. It's the only choice you can make, right? It's what you believe, because you may be incapacitated. Maybe you can talk, maybe you can't. Maybe you can move your arms, maybe you can't. What do you do? What do you believe? Where do you go? That's what I'm talking about. And how then, when it's all over, right? When you know that you're at the end, what do you do? Do you repay evil with evil, or do you repay evil with good? I think deep down inside, most people know what they need to do. I think when emotions get in the way, then our feelings are talking. And then it's not what we stand on that's responding. It's what we feel. To that I say, your feelings will come and go. Stand on your business. Hasta la próxima. Until the next time, America, take care, good night, and God bless you. I'm Rich Valdes.